Some people rush into marriage because they are afraid of being alone. Others wait because they are afraid of building forever with the wrong person. And between those two choices lies a quiet kind of wisdom, because waiting is not weakness, waiting is discipline. Tonight, let me tell you about a woman who chose patience over pressure and discovered that the right foundation is worth every extra year. Her name was Amara. Amara was 35, not 25 with time floating loosely around her like morning mist, not 30 with people still calling her young, 35. And in the world she lived in, that number carried weight. Not the kind you see on a scale, the invisible kind, the kind made of whispers, side glances. Family gatherings had a rhythm to them. Food, laughter, then the moment would arrive, an aunt leaning closer with a sympathetic smile. So, when is your turn? Nobody is perfect, just manage. Marriage is adjustment. Don't overthink it. They meant well. Most people do, but advice is strange. Sometimes it reveals more about the speaker than the listener. Amara would smile politely, but inside, her mind traveled through memories most people in the room had chosen to forget. She had seen things. She had watched brilliant women, women who once filled rooms with laughter and opinions, slowly shrink inside marriages that look perfect on Instagram. Pictures full of matching outfits, matching smiles, but behind those smiles lived quiet exhaustion. She had watched beauty turn into bitterness. Not overnight. Bitterness grows the way rust grows, quietly, slowly, until one day the structure you trusted begins to crumble. She had seen women who once dreamed boldly begin negotiating for basic respect. She had seen men who once spoke softly become comfortable with control. And the most frightening part? From the outside, everything still looked fine. That is the strange magic of appearances. They can make fragile things look solid. And Amara understood something many people refuse to admit. Marriage is not a wedding day. It is architecture, and architecture obeys structure. You can decorate a weak building with beautiful paint, but when pressure comes, and pressure always comes, decoration cannot save a broken foundation. So Amara made a decision, a quiet one, no announcement, no dramatic speech, just a decision sitting firmly inside her spirit. She would not marry for beauty. Beauty is wonderful, yes, like flowers in the rain. But flowers do not hold up a roof when storms arrive. She would not marry for pressure. Crowds have a strange habit of rushing people into lifelong decisions they will never help them carry. And she certainly would not marry because the calendar said it was time. Calendars measure days, they do not measure wisdom. She had seen too many people mortgage their future just to silence questions from relatives who would return to their own homes after the wedding. No, Amara would marry character, or she would stay single in peace. Character meant patience, it meant humility, it meant a man who could disagree without trying to dominate. A man who respected her mind, not just her appearance. Character meant someone who could build a life and not just a wedding. Many people misunderstood her decision. Some said she was too picky. Others whispered that independence had made her difficult. But here is the quiet truth most people never say out loud. Peace confuses people who settled for chaos. And strangely enough, the moment Amara made that decision, something shifted inside her. The pressure dissolved. Her life stopped feeling like a waiting room. She began traveling, working, laughing without apology. She built friendships that felt like family. She learned new skills, started projects, took risks. The irony was almost poetic. The very thing people believed she was missing, marriage, stopped feeling like the center of her life. She realized something powerful. Singleness was not an empty space. It was space. Space to grow. Space to become someone strong enough to recognize the right person when he appeared. Her life would still be full, because fulfillment was never meant to come from a ring. It comes from purpose, and purpose does not wait for permission. Daniel did not arrive with fireworks. No dramatic entrance, no loud charisma filling the room, no rehearsed charm designed to capture attention. In a world where many people are busy being seen, Daniel was simply busy being himself, and strangely that made him rare. Amara noticed it almost immediately. Not because he was flashy, because he was consistent. The first time he said he would call, he called. The first time he said he would show up, he showed up. Not late, not with excuses, not with a dramatic apology. He was quiet, observant, grounded. The kind of man people often overlook because he is not trying to be the most interesting person in the room. In a world where many people are busy being seen, Daniel was simply busy being himself, and strangely that made him rare. Amara noticed it almost immediately. Not because he was flashy, because he was consistent. The first time he said he would call, he called. The first time he said he would show up, he showed up not late, not with excuses, not with a dramatic apology. Just there, present, simple. And that sounds ordinary until you live long enough to realize how uncommon that actually is. Many people know how to make promises. Few people know how to keep them. Daniel kept his word the way some people keep heirlooms, carefully, respectfully, without treating it lightly. Amara watched him in small moments, the moments people rarely notice. He greeted security guards with the same respect he gave executives. He listened fully when someone spoke, not waiting for his turn to talk, but actually absorbing what they said. He didn't twist the story or blame circumstances. He simply said, "I'm sorry, I should have handled that better." No excuses, no ego protecting itself, just accountability. And that small sentence revealed something powerful about him. A person can apologize without defending their pride is a person who has already mastered something most adults never learn: humility. Many people know how to impress. Few people know how to be trustworthy. Science has a name for what Amara was observing, even if she didn't know the technical term at the time. Psychologists call it behavioral consistency. It's one of the strongest predictors of long-term reliability in human relationships. In plain language, it means this: people who behave well when nothing is at stake usually behave well when everything is at stake. People who are honest in small things are usually honest in big things. People who are respectful to strangers rarely become cruel partners. Character leaves fingerprints in ordinary moments. The way someone treats waiters, the way someone speaks when they're frustrated, the way someone handles being wrong. Those are not small things. They are previews. Daniel was steady. Not boring, steady, and there is a difference. Boring drains life. Steady protects it. Steady means you don't wake up wondering which version of someone you will meet today. Steady means you don't walk on eggshells. Steady means peace. In a chaotic world full of emotional storms, steadiness is not dull. It is gold. It is safety. It is the quiet strength that builds strong families, stable homes, and peaceful lives. Amara had seen the opposite before. The charming men who dazzled rooms but struggled with discipline. The confident voices that promised the world but collapsed under responsibility. The men who could speak beautifully about love but failed when love required patience, humility, and sacrifice. Daniel wasn't trying to impress anyone. And that was exactly why he was impressive. Because the loudest qualities are rarely the strongest ones. The strongest ones are quiet, integrity, patience, self-control, reliability. They don't perform. They simply exist. And once you've lived long enough to recognize them, you stop chasing fireworks. You start valuing the man who shows up with a steady flame. Because fireworks look beautiful for a moment, but a steady flame is what keeps a home warm. And that quiet truth is something many people only discover after years of experience. The strange paradox of love is this: the man who isn't trying to impress you is often the one most capable of protecting your peace. They did not rush, and in a world addicted to speed, that alone was unusual. Today, people meet on Monday, fall in love by Friday, and by Sunday, they are already discussing forever. But forever is not a weekend decision. Forever is architecture. So they slowed down. Months quietly became years of observation. Not observation in a suspicious way. Observation in the way builders study the ground before placing a structure on it. Because love can be emotional, but marriage is structural. They watched how each other handled life. They disagreed sometimes. Not the dramatic movie-style arguments where doors slam and voices shake the walls. Just real disagreements. The kind that happen when two adults with different experiences try to share one life. But disagreements did not turn into insults. No one reached for cruel words. No one tried to win the argument by damaging the other person's dignity, because how someone fights with you reveals more about their character than how they flirt with you. Then life applied another test: financial stress. Money has a strange way of exposing people. When things are comfortable, kindness is easy. But when pressure comes, when bills stack up and plans shift, that is when true character shows its face. But stress did not turn into blame. No accusations, no this is your fault. No quiet resentment growing like mold in the corner of the room. Instead, they faced the problem together, side by side, like partners. Then came another layer, family. Different backgrounds, different traditions, different expectations. Family differences have destroyed more relationships than strangers ever could, but differences did not turn into disrespect. They listened, they explained, they protected the dignity of the other's families even when they disagreed with them. That kind of restraint is rare. And slowly, something became clear. The foundation was solid, not perfect. No human structure ever is, but stable. Marriage is not about avoiding storms. Storms are guaranteed. Illness comes, money fluctuates, people change, life rearranges the furniture of your plans when you least expect it. Storms are part of the design. The real question is this: what kind of structure are you standing in when the storm arrives? A house built on excitement collapses quickly. A house built on ego cracks under pressure. But a house built on respect, on patience, on emotional maturity, that house bends, but it does not collapse. Too many people choose attraction. Attraction is powerful. Biology wired humans to feel it quickly, but attraction is like fire. It burns bright, it burns hot, and sometimes it burns out just as fast. Stability is different. Stability is quieter. Less dramatic, less exciting to show on social media. But stability is what carries love across decades. Stability is the reason two people can sit at the same dinner 30 years later and still feel peace in each other's presence. Not butterflies, peace. And peace is deeper than romance. Because butterflies eventually settle. But peace stays. Years later, they attended a small anniversary gathering for an older couple who had been married for 42 years. Nothing glamorous, no luxury hall, just family, laughter, and stories. Someone asked the old husband the usual question people love to ask. What is the secret to staying married for 42 years? The man smiled. Not the smile of someone who had avoided hardship, the smile of someone who had survived it. He said something simple. We never tried to win against each other. We only tried to win for the marriage. The room went quiet, because that sentence carried the weight of decades. And in that moment, they realized something powerful. The strongest marriages are not built by perfect people. They are built by people who protect the foundation, even when the storm arrives. One fascinating thing psychologists observe is this: long-term relationship satisfaction correlates far more with emotional regulation than with romance. In simple words, the couples who last are not the couples who feel the most sparks. They are the couples who know how to stay respectful when emotions run. That's not poetry, that's data. And it quietly confirms an old wisdom people used to say long before modern psychology existed: character is the real foundation of love. The wedding day finally arrived. Something felt different. Not louder, not more glamorous, just deeper. The music played softly as Amara stepped into the aisle. The room was full but strangely quiet. Not the silence of boredom, the silence of attention. People could feel it. This was not a performance. Amara walked slowly, her steps steady. No hidden panic behind a perfect smile. There was peace in her eyes. She wasn't hoping things would work themselves out later. She knew the man waiting for her. Not the version people perform during dating, not the charming highlight reel. She knew the ordinary version of him. The man who kept promises when nobody was watching. The man who apologized when he was wrong. The man who treated waiters, cleaners, and strangers with the same respect he showed her. Science actually has a term for this pattern: behavioral consistency. It simply means a person behaves the same across time and across situations. That's one of the strongest predictors of real character. Charm can be rehearsed, consistency cannot. At the end of the aisle stood Daniel. Calm, still, present. He didn't look like a man who had won something. He looked like a man who had been trusted with something sacred. When his eyes met Amara's, there was no trace of ownership in them. No prideful "she's mine now," real gratitude. Because Daniel understood something many people never learn. You don't acquire a spouse. You are entrusted with a human life, a whole person, a history, a future. He wasn't marrying Amara because she was beautiful. Beauty changes. Time does what time always does. He was marrying her strength, her patience, her discipline, the way she handled disappointment without bitterness, the way she protected her peace instead of chasing approval. Those are the muscles that hold a marriage together. And Amara knew exactly what she was choosing too. She wasn't marrying Daniel's job title, not his income, not the status that came with his name. Titles can vanish in a single economic storm. Companies collapse, careers shift. Life humbles everybody eventually. She was marrying his character, the quiet kind, the kind that shows up on boring Tuesday when life becomes chaotic. There's an old truth human history keeps whispering to anyone willing to listen. Attraction may start a relationship, but character is what carries it across decades. The ceremony itself was simple. No dramatic theatrics. No exaggerated displays meant for social media. Just two people standing before God. This was not just a celebration. It was a covenant. Their families and their own consciences. And that's when the real meaning of the moment settled into the room. A covenant is an old word. Ancient, almost unfashionable in a modern world that treats commitment like a subscription service. But covenants are powerful things not on emotion, but on decision. Feelings rise and fall like tides. Anyone who has lived long enough knows that. But a covenant says, even when the tide goes out, the foundation stays. That's the difference between a performance and a covenant. A performance is built for applause. It needs an audience, it needs attention, it needs validation. A covenant doesn't care about the crowd. It is built for storms, for the quiet days, for the disagreements, for the seasons when life tests everything you thought you knew about love. Too many people plan weddings like movie premieres. But the wedding is not the story. It is the first sentence. And as Amara and Daniel stood there, hands gently intertwined, something rare was happening. Two people were not just celebrating romance. They were beginning a life built on foundation. And foundations, the wise ones know this, are not exciting while they're being built. But they are the only reason a house still stands when the wind begins to argue with the walls. Because forever is not built on butterflies. Forever is built on truth, discipline, patience, and character. And that kind of love doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be real. When real life began, years passed. The photographs from the wedding slowly settled into frames on the wall. The music faded. The applause ended. And then life, real life, walked in through the front door like an uninvited guest who plans to stay. Morning alarms rang too early. Traffic swallowed hours of the day. Work deadlines piled up. Some months the money stretched easily. Other months, it had to be pulled like thin fabric. Too many responsibilities. Storms arrived the way storms always do, not with warning drums. Financial strain, long work hours. Misunderstandings that started small but carried emotional weight. Nothing dramatic. Just the ordinary pressures that quietly test every marriage. But storms have a strange habit. They expose what sunshine can hide. A weak foundation begins to crack under pressure. A strong one holds steady. Arguments happen. Of course they did. Two human beings cannot share a life without friction. Different opinions, different moods, different ways of seeing the world, but something important remained untouched. Respect stayed in the room. No insults thrown like knives. No silent punishments that last for weeks. No attempts to dominate or humiliate. Disagreement never became destruction. Pressure increased. Work demanded more hours. Family responsibilities multiplied. Unexpected expenses showed up without apology. But instead of pushing them apart, unity grew. They learned something powerful that many couples never learn. The problem was never the enemy. They were not fighting each other. They were fighting the problem together. And slowly, quietly, something deeper formed. Love matured. Not the glittering kind people show on social media. Not the performance of romance designed for photographs. Something stronger. The kind of love built from shared battles, the kind that says, we survived that. Their laughter changed too. It carried memory now. Private jokes. Moments only they understood. Love deepened not because life became easy, but because the structure underneath was strong. Here is a truth most people discover too late. Marriage does not create character, it reveals it. Marriage magnifies what already exists. If someone carries anger, that anger grows louder in marriage. If someone carries selfishness, that selfishness expands. If someone carries chaos, that chaos multiplies. But the same rule works in the opposite direction. If someone carries patience, patience grows. If someone carries discipline, stability forms. If someone carries peace, that peace begins to fill the home like quiet music. This is why choosing wisely matters so much. Because the person you marry is not just a companion. They become the climate of your life. And climates shape everything that grows inside them. So the lesson is simple but powerful. Do not rush the foundation. Do not marry excitement alone. Do not marry pressure from society. Do not marry because the clock is loud. Build something solid first. Because when real life finally begins, and it always does, love built on character will not collapse. It will grow stronger with every storm. And storms, as history keeps reminding us, are not the enemy. They are the proof that the foundation was built well. So if you are single right now, listen carefully. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not missing out. You are standing at one of the most important decision points of your life. Don't marry for beauty. Don't marry for pressure. And never mortgage your future by building forever on a weak foundation. Prize your future. Choose right, build slow, because forever is heavy and only strong foundations survive the weight. Sometimes an empty chair is not loneliness. Sometimes it is wisdom waiting for the right person to sit down. Before we close tonight, if this story spoke to you, if it made you pause, reflect, or see relationships a little more clearly, then you're part of this conversation now. Go ahead and like the video so more people who need this message can find it. And subscribe to the channel, because here we tell stories that help us think deeper, choose wiser, and build lives that actually last. There's a lot of noise online, but here we're choosing wisdom over pressure. Stay connected, and I'll see you in the next story. Until then, prize your future. Choose right. And remember, forever is too long to gamble on the wrong foundation.